Yo, you guys, what's going on? Cam here, along with the amazing Omar. Brother, how you feeling? How you doing?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. As always, we have a wonderful show for you guys today. We have a special guest, two special guests on. We got Dr. Demila Hewitt, who is also my coworker, and Black business owner Stephen, who is going to share his experience after working in corporate America for 15 years and then taking the venture to go ahead and step out on the entrepreneurship. So please stay tuned.
All right. Okay, so I guess that was just a little bit of all right. Well, the beauty of doing live internet in the middle of a pandemic is you can have technical issues like that.
Absolutely. That's
But
right. We're going to keep
you
it
guys got to
pushing.
see the full opening theme now. Got to see our cool little pictures. I kind of want to redo my picture, Omar. I don't like just the profile. I think everybody should get the full face. But anyways, we just gonna jump right back
Welcome,
in.
welcome, welcome. Salute, peace to everybody out there.
So Omar was just saying we have special guests lined up for you guys. We got some cool topics to get into, and right now we're gonna get into the HBCU news of the week. All right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So kicking off the HBCU news of the week is a story that I found just to be so repugnantly gross that no athlete, football athlete from any HBCU in the country was drafted.
Come on, man. Come on. Come on. No
And it's the disrespect
HBCU
for
athletes drafted.
it's disrespectful. So
It
you
is.
have an organization that is built mostly off of the backs of black men, and you exploit these black men for dollar purposes. Now, people would say that they're not being exploited because they're rich. However, how rich are they compared to the people who own their contracts? Okay,
Mm.
they're seeing maybe 10% of their money, but I'll digress and come back to that at a later time. But how is it that no player from an HBCU gets drafted? Well, we know how, in my opinion. We know that NFL teams look at certain schools, and certain schools are probably given certain types of kickbacks too. Let's call it what it is. Let's also acknowledge that because of the inequity in dollar sources, that bigger schools or PWIs in general have more access to more financial resources and capita than certain HBCU schools do. Therefore, never being able to get certain equipment or the right facilities to be able to host and produce certain types of athletes and events. But I feel like that last part is just really not true. Like, you cannot give us the resources, we're still going to shine. But this is why HBCUs are relevant, and this is why it's important that no matter what, you send your child to an HBCU. And Omar, please come in and add to that because I'm just flabbergasted.
Well,
I don't even watch
first off,
football. I don't even watch
I want to
football.
I want to say that we all know, for those who went to HBCUs, the MEAC, the SWAC, there's always phenomenal players that are that attend HBCUs that are superstars. You know, you may have them that, they didn't go attend the Dukes or, the Floridas and things like that, but they are standouts, bar none. So I also want to point out that historically, that when people start paying more attention, because remember, we couldn't participate in sports or attend the same schools as our white counterparts. right? So it wasn't until people start paying attention to historically black colleges in our sports that black students start getting offers and scholarships to go to these Caucasian institutions. So we were exploited in a sense, and I do want to please shout out to Deion Sanders, shout out to these legends that are taking
Master
these
P's
coaching
son.
jobs. Yeah. So please don't be discouraged, my African American student athletes. We need to keep pushing and keep going to HBCUs. Thank you to Eddie George and Deion Sanders for taking these jobs. Thank you to these phenomenal prospects and standouts that have taken the leap and going ahead and stepping out on faith and being that example to attend historically black colleges. And hopefully other athletes don't be discouraged by this and continue to don't be discouraged and go ahead and let's just keep the train going, and we need to be in HBCUs. Let's get that straight. Okay? So I
Make it to
mean,
where there's not another time that they can deny an HBCU student a slot on a team. We have to make that a reality, and I think we can. And I think there's definitely a cultural shift, and I would almost deem it as another renaissance within our generation,
absolutely.
and this generation coming up behind us. So shout out to them, and shout out to the black people and entertainment who are making it cool to go to an HBCU, who are
That's
bringing
right.
awareness. Shout out
That's
to Meg
right.
Thee Stallion, shout out
Right
to
on.
Beyonce, shout out to Master P. Like, we see
Big
you,
shout out
and
to
it's
Master
working.
P.
It's working.
It is. It is.
Also, in HBCU news, we were going to switch over to a little bit of NPHC news.
Right on.
This past weekend was the Kentucky Derby, but we not
Right
really
on.
checking for that. But I heard there was another event.
Yes,
I didn't get an invite to it or something.
Yes, sir.
But, go ahead, tell us
Shout out to the dynamic brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. This past weekend, yes, sir. I said the dynamic, devastating nukes of Kappa Alpha Psi West Side Phi Nu Pi.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We had the annual Derby event. Shout out to the brothers, hosted by former county commissioner Lawrence Weekly. It was an amazing event, and it was also chaperoned. Shout out to the young brothers of the Kappa Leadership League who helped with the photo booth. We actually had a real horse, right? A real horse there, and they were taking pictures and helping out with the event. A group of outstanding young brothers, grades 9 through 12, right? Who do amazing things in the community. So parents, if you have young males in your household who don't have anything to do, please look at some of the fraternities, organizations, guide right programs and things as such. Shout out to brother Kenneth Landrum, who is the head advisor of the Kappa Leadership League, County Commissioner Lawrence Weekly, and brother Michael Garrett, aka Bombay, along with Otha Nevels, Mylan, Kariga, and everybody who helps out with the Kappa Leadership League. These young brothers are amazing. They're dressed to impress every meeting. They run their meetings professional, Robert's Rules of Order. You know how that go, Cam.
I wouldn't expect nothing less from the noobs or y'all's prodigies.
Come on, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And these young brothers are an array of different extracurricular activities, from sports, basketball, football, standout players, musicians, the whole nine. So, and they have access to the most premier brothers in the city who are willing to pour into these young brothers, such as the attorney generals, county commissioners, business owners who continue to pour into these brothers. So shout out to these brothers here. And so also shout out to all the sororities that came through the event. The video was going, a little in and out, but shout out to the Devastating Divas, shout out to Zeta Phi Beta, shout out to the AKAs, and of course the Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Thank you guys so much for coming out to the event and attending. It was a
I
phenomenal
mean, I ain't
time.
gonna say nothing about you putting the SG Rose last, but
Come on, man. You know I love the SG Rose, man. You know Indiana love. Come on now. But
uh,
yeah, we had a phenomenal time. And if I missed anybody, Las Vegas. Let me say this, Cam, is a place where people come through. Is brothers from all over the United States that are here, and brothers look out. They have a lot of connections as far as nightlife, as far as from jet skiing, and even for the temperance brothers who want to go to the club and they may wake up on Sunday and want to go to church. Shout out to Pastor Marlon Anderson at TRM Global. TRM Global, you know, he has the Bible study on Sundays and on Tuesdays. So, with that being said, yo to the noobs. You know how we do. Keep achieving.
all right, all right. So we do have the question and comment section open. So if you have any comments, drop them. We'll try to get to them at the end of each segment and just answer you guys' question. Hoping to give you guys some good feedback and what you need to hear. All right, so we're gonna move on now to Omar's specialty, where this man goes Super Saiyan every time. I am a nerd. Shout out to DBZ. But the business spotlight, Omar, what we looking at
All
today?
right.
Business spotlight.
We have Brother one of my great and most amazing friends. Is he on? Brother Stephen from West LA, a West LA legend. Are you there? Hey,
I'm
we in
here.
the
What up?
building.
What up?
What's
What's
going
going
on?
on with
What's
you?
going on, brother?
Hey,
Peace to
nothing
you,
much.
man. Much
Peace.
love to you, man.
Hey, definitely.
Yeah, let
Hey,
me say this,
appreciate you
man.
guys having me here.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, man. Go ahead, Steph. My bad.
no, I said I appreciate you guys having me on your venue today. You guys are doing excellent, you know what I'm saying, and keeping Black folks informed. I'm a fan, and keep doing what you're doing.
That's right. Appreciate it, man. Let me just say this, Cam. I haven't seen this brother in so long, man. We went to elementary school together, man. Crescent Heights
Crescent Heights,
Elementary,
baby.
West
Crescent
LA
Heights, West
legend,
LA.
West LA
West.
Kings. Holla, what's happening? Yes,
West,
sir. It's
West.
always good to see brothers doing their thing, man, as we matriculate through life. I'm so
Definitely.
glad, man, and I was just, honestly so proud of you, man, and just your strides that you make in the life. This brother worked in corporate America for 15 years. Am I correct? Before
Yeah,
he
15 is June. Yep.
15 years before he went on ahead and made the stride and stepped out on faith. So, I mean, first things first, man. I know there had to be a lot of discouragement. People were discouraging you from, your vision. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't get too many people because this business I wanted to keep hush hush. You know what I'm saying? Because I was tired of always putting out an idea out there for people and hearing people feedback, and I never fell through. So once I decided on this business structure, I was like, I'm gonna keep it hush hush for the most part. I probably told about 5 people eventually once I was finalizing everything. But I did get that. No, maybe you should try this or that. Like nobody knows the vision like you do. So, it's a little now the success is like, hey, look at me now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the bragging type though. I don't want it to be confused. You know what I'm saying? When I say look at me now, I like to encourage. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all about progression for everybody. I like progression, and yeah, that's where I am. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm 2 months into this new business. This wasn't my first business venture. I started off with t-shirts. Um, but everybody does t-shirts, you know what I'm saying? And I have a YouTube blog also, the Tequila Hour. Oh, look, I messed up my backdrop over here showing you. Know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's all good. We
My
rolling,
bad.
baby. Yes,
Don't mean to be
sir.
tacky over here, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so now I just I'll let you flow. I got my own vlog and I'll probably try to talk and talk. So I'm gonna follow
Yeah,
you. So
shout out to my brother Steph. Please check
yeah.
out the Tequila Hour. Yeah, Cam, go ahead and you can go ahead and step in if you got any questions for the young brother.
Yeah, Steph. Okay, so I'm actually interested in becoming a business owner within the next year.
Okay.
I think something that is so hard to fathom as a Black male from the inner city is it seems so intangible to have enough money to start a business.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I've heard that it may not take as much as I'm assuming. Like I may be, overthinking my budget by about $20,000-$30,000, but I don't know. But so talk to me about like financially educate me on starting it up.
Well, I came across hurdles, trying to start a business up, like it's like, okay, I have a business, I have this, my LLC in place, and now it's time for me to get the financing. So you guys didn't, put it out there yet, but I started a trucking business. So like trying to get financing as a new business, it was impossible. You know what I'm saying? It seemed impossible at first. So I ended up, as far as like getting the truck. So what I ended up doing was following other cats on like Instagram and stuff. And one of the guys that I followed, his name was Him500. I don't know him. This isn't a paid endorsement, but he always spoke about leveraging credit. So I'm like, okay, well, what I could do, you know what I'm saying? I got on with Navy Federal Credit Union. They gave me like a $25,000 credit card. And then with that $25,000 credit card, now I have enough credit to leverage to get myself a vehicle, a business truck. So that's the way I ended up doing it. Well, I didn't spend it all on that, like, let me rewind this. So with a truck in a new business, 9 times out of 10, they want you to put 30% down. So 30% down on a $30,000 to $40,000 truck could be like 10 grand. You know what I'm saying? So now I use that credit card to leverage that down payment, and then now I'm in business and rolling. And in my first month, I created almost 2.5 months worth of salary at the corporate.
Right on. Steph, please, first off, let's tell, what is your, do you want to disclose the name of your business and what do you do specifically for the people out there?
Well, I named it EJG Transport. That's named after my grandma. You know my grandma, Omar,
Yes, sir.
Eva Dooley Grimes, rest in peace. So it was paying homage
R.I.P.
to her. And basically what I do is I move general freight across the country. I'm also on with Amazon, through Amazon Relay, where I'm contracted and I can move their freight around also, from picking up at their warehouse facilities and dropping off at different post offices. But it's not as lucrative as I thought with the Amazon side of things. But doing my own work, picking up my own loads, driving wherever I want to has been really lucrative. And yeah, it's crazy, man. I promise you, you drive, take a cross country trip and you see a bunch of, old white dudes, big beards and stuff. You never had that impression like truck drivers are making bank. You know what I'm saying? I had no idea until I was sitting at home dealing with, being on leave of absence because my kid's home and everything, and with COVID and everything. And I'm just like, what do I want to do? Because what I'm doing isn't working anymore. You know what I'm saying? And coming across truck drivers, and I was like, well, damn, they making that type of money? And when I say that type of money, they making 6 figures plus.
That's
Easy.
right. Easy. Yes,
So,
sir.
you know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to jump into. Do I like driving? Heck no, I don't like driving. But this is the mindset that I put in there. I was like, okay, well, when I was at the office dealing with emails and dealing with phone calls, I'm sitting in the desk for 8 hours a day. So why can't I just sit back and get in that mind state that, sitting behind this truck, I'm going to sit back. That's my office also. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Without people talking behind over my back. You know what I'm saying? So
and I want to say this too, Steph, brother Cam, when I talked to Steph, man, and I reached out to him and I asked him and inquired, how do you do this? How do you do that? We as a people have a tendency to want to keep information to ourselves. He was very transparent. Like, you can reach out to people and ask what they're doing with their businesses. People do not want to let you know how to do it, even though we are all African American. People don't share information. So, man, props to you for doing that, Steph. And can you tell me as the why as to your mindset with sharing information with your brothers and sisters who also want to get to business?
Yeah. I mean, that's easy right there. You know what I'm saying? Like what Snoop said it best, the game is to be told, not sold. And, I've never been that type of person that wanted to sit back and hold all the information and be successful over here and then like looking down on people. That's just not my steez. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always you know, like boom. You know what I'm saying? Like here, this is on the plate. Even when I got into you know the corporate side of things 15 years ago, before I even got on, I told all the homies like, yo, Whoop is hiring. You know, go apply, do this. It's always been my nature. You know, if I can't win, at least somebody else can win. You know, so that's the mentality, and you know, it hasn't set back and bit me in the butt yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about all of us winning. And in this business that I'm in, there is no reason to sit back and try to hold things in. I can't be in Vegas with you picking up a load going here when I'm in Atlanta.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like there is no competition. And even if it was competition, let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Got you, man. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you and your willingness and your achievements, man. Keep on achieving. Please keep us updated. Come back on the show and let us know how it's going, man.
Hey,
Peace and love
anytime,
to
man.
you, brother.
I appreciate you,
Thank you
brother,
so much
doing
for
what you're
coming.
doing.
And thank you for the knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know it all, but what I do know, I'm willing to give. So
Tell us
your
your YouTube vlog one more time for the people out there.
Yeah. So you can follow me and my trucking journey at the Tequila Hour on YouTube, and I also do resort reviews and tequila reviews. You know, while I was waiting for you guys, I was popping a little tequila, right?
There it is.
Nothing wrong with that.
There it
Ain't nothing
is.
wrong with that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes, sir,
But
brother.
definitely good seeing you guys. And next time I see you, I actually want to do it face to face. I'm fully vaccinated, so let's catch up, man. It's been too long.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace and love, brother.
All right,
Yes, sir.
brother. I'll
West
see
LA.
y'all.
Let's get it.
Thanks.
All right, guys. That was an amazing interview, man. It's always good to see brothers doing their thing and out here making strides, man.
That was some rich information. Definitely rich information. Definitely stuff that I can take with me personally. So super grateful and thankful for Stephen for giving us his time. And check out his reviews. I'm definitely going to see what that tequila talking about.
Yes, sir.
But all right,
yes,
moving
sir.
on, we're going to get into a little bit of current event news. Okay, there are three things that really just kind of stuck out this week. I was like, we got to get into this. First up is the issue of Republican infighting. Yes, the Republican Party seems like they have been collapsing in front of our eyes ever since the terrorist attacks that happened on January 6th. And it seems since then they've really had a reckoning. Well, somebody who's come out and has been a voice of reason, which if you know her father, it'd be very weird for you to imagine her being a voice of reason. But Liz Cheney has come out and rejected all Trumpsters. She has also come out and rejected the big lie that the election was in any way fraudulent or stolen, and supports that Joe Biden is in fact the president of the United States. Well, this has quite ruffled some feathers on the Republican House. And they are mad because Cheney is one of the top 5 ranking Republicans in Congress. And now they're voting to remove her from all of her positions of power. Now, this is interesting because conservatives usually scream about how much they hate cancel culture, right? But if you are kicking somebody out of their position just because they say and think something that you disagree with, even though what you want them to say is an absolute unequivocal lie, then why are you going to remove her? Isn't that canceling her in its truest definition? Is that not fascist? Is that not bending to the mob? I mean, these are all the things that they say that they hate, yet they're doing it. Make it make sense. You can't. So I think what is to be admirable is when people like Liz Cheney, as much as I disagree with her, as much as I think her father may be a reincarnation of Satan himself, it's admirable when you stand up for what you know is right. And it doesn't happen a lot in Washington on both sides. Democrats are not free of this criticism at all either. But shout out to Liz Cheney, especially for being a woman and doing that and taking on that role. We also wanted to get into the hip. This kind of struck me. I saw this a little bit last week, but the hypocrisy of the Biden administration when it comes to following the CDC guidelines. So recently, the CDC released guidelines for what you could do if you were fully vaccinated, which it was pretty awesome. If you're fully vaccinated, you can be around other vaccinated people without a mask. You can be outside without a mask as long as it's not super crowded, and some more things. Biden then the next day, or maybe even the same day, came out and said, it's your patriotic duty to wear a mask. Now listen, we've all been doing this ride for about a year, more than a year with the coronavirus. At the beginning, we begged for our commander-in-chief to listen to the science. And had he had listened to the science, maybe things wouldn't have been as bad. And he completely ignored the CDC and he discredited the CDC. Now listen, if we now flip it and we have a new administration and the CDC is saying something again that the president doesn't want to be the message, we cannot let him slide, because he is in the same way discrediting the CDC that Trump did. Listen, if y'all are saying this is okay to do without a mask, I get we're all scared. I get that he's probably super cautious, doesn't want anything to fall back on him and it be, he handles it worse than Trump or he sees a bigger surge than Trump. But you can't have it both ways. If you're telling us to follow the CDC, then Mr. President, follow the CDC. Your messaging, your governor's messaging, your local representative's messaging should reflect the science. And if science says I can go outside without a mask, then I can go outside without a mask. Now, if science says I can go outside without a mask and I don't feel comfortable enough going outside without a mask, so I'm going to wear my mask, then that's fine too. But the government should not come down and be chastising people who want to follow CDC guidelines. Get into it, all right? And then lastly, what I really wanted to talk about, and Omar, I would love for you to help me out with this one here. Last week, President Biden gave an address in front of members of Congress. The Republican Party released simultaneously their response to Biden's address. And in this address, they had Senator Tim Scott, Carolina, to speak. And for those of you who don't know, Senator Scott is the only Black Republican in Congress. And so they had him speak. And it created such a backlash on Twitter, where Uncle Tim was trending, and a lot of conservatives said, "How dare that happen? How dare liberals claim that you don't want racism, but it's okay to be racist towards a Black Republican?" I have thoughts, but Omar, what do you think about that? I mean, and this one of the things that Scott said is that America is not racist. But go ahead.
So here's my thing, man. We gotta wake up, America. There's so many. I'm an interesting story. It takes me back to I lived in no disrespect, I lived in Denver for a minute, right? And there were people who claimed, and these is even brothers and sisters, that people were not. They don't see racism, right? There's this saying, I do not see racism. Wake up. It's 2021. The mask is coming off. These people are racist. And I encourage and admonish those who are out there. We go through it on our jobs, to be politically correct. If we got a code switch, that it's racism going on. You see what I'm saying? If you got to get in the elevator and change the way you look and speak to make others feel comfortable, it's racism going on. So, I mean, for those of you who are out there, we all go through it, on our jobs. We go through the motions and we have to act a certain way. I mean, you even got to answer your phone a certain way. Hey, hello. Hi, how are you? Be yourself, man. Just the mask is coming off. Call it what it is. And Cam, I'm gonna say this, man. Like I've had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with a good friend of mine, and talking about racism being dead because it is 2021, or African Americans being extra, in things of that nature. Well, what would you say to those who feel that, even with the police, oh, he shouldn't have been doing that. He shouldn't have been doing this, or if they wouldn't have been acting up, the police wouldn't have been over there anyway. I don't know. You know, what would you say to those issues? Of police brutality or having a code switch, the whole nine on this subject, Cam.
I would say I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna tie it all in quick. First, I would say that to the point of they shouldn't have been doing this to begin with. Okay, 100%. They shouldn't have been doing that to begin with. We can all agree to that. However, having an air freshener in your car should not be a death sentence. Running from the cops should not be a death sentence. Sleeping in your bed should not be a death sentence. Going for a jog should not be a death sentence. Being accused of passing a fake $20 bill that is not an arrestable offense should not be a death sentence. What I say to that is you're caught up in the wrong thing. Now, when you're ready to join us in reality, then we'll be here waiting for you. But saying you shouldn't have did this, a police officer has no more than 6 months of training. He is in no way, shape, or form qualified to execute the law as it's written. Those people are lawyers and they go to school for years. And the people who pass the sentences are judges who've gone to school for years, been lawyers for years, and are now sitting on the bench able to judge as best as a human can, or so we hope. So I say that as far as when it comes to code switching, listen, I think it's a beautiful notion to say, hey, be yourself, don't code switch. I'd be lying to you if I said I don't go into job interviews with hair like this, scared as hell. Okay? No, I put on my best voice. We are still, to me, it's just not there yet for me to really advise Black people not to code switch. Now, if you're in a situation and you can suss it out and you feel good and you feel comfortable, or you see somebody who you can relate to, then by all means, be who you naturally are. But code switching, it's inevitable to survive, especially in in a place as capitalistic as the United States. And then wrapping it up at the end with just Senator Scott, I do want to speak to the how can liberals say, hey, this is racist, but then when it's done to a Black conservative, it's not racist. It's racist if you're liberal or conservative. Absolutely. However, there are certain things within the Black community, within Black culture, that we can say and call out each other for. A Black person today could walk up to me, hear something I say right here on the show, call me a coon, and we could have a severe disagreement. However, it's not coming from racist, it's coming from the context. Or he called me Uncle Tom, and it's coming from the concept. Unfortunately, the history with Caucasian Americans is such that we can't judge where it's coming from, so it's just better off that no Caucasian says that at all. And with that, I would say that a little bit of what Republicans are saying, call out, talk to your fellow white people. That's a conversation for you guys to also have about your implicit bias and being able to go there with a Black man that you severely disagree with that quick. But as far as when it comes to Black people, stay out of Black folks' business. Full stop. That's our culture. Stop it. It's not for you. So I'd say that in the end, and that's my take. I give it straight, no chase.
Don't be afraid to ever. You can respect others, but it's okay to be Black. You can be Black. For those of
absolutely,
you,
absolutely. And when you get in these places, you be you. I may have to put on a face to get in this door, but when I'm in this door, you get it on. Now, gratefully, I'm so happy that I work in an industry in a line where I don't have to dial anything back, where I am celebrated. But I'd be lying to you if I said that I wasn't ever in a position where I had to dial it back, or where I was passed on a position because of who I was.
Absolutely.
Or, they saw a few of my Instagram videos and didn't like all that. But we got another segment coming up. But while Omar introduces that, you guys, I am actually Muslim, and it's the holy month of Ramadan, and I can finally break fast. So I'm going to let Omar cue in the next segment, and I'm going to go get me some water real quick.
Peace and wa salam alaikum to all the Muslim brothers and sisters out there, and respect and peace to all the people that are acknowledging and practicing the Ramadan. Adrena, are we able to play the clip at all, or should we just go into it? We are going to discuss the topic, education and Black children in America. Education and Black children in America. And is Dr. Hewitt on as well? Hey, how's it going, Dr. Hewitt? How are you?
Everything is great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. And please introduce yourself to the people out here.
Sure. My name is Demila Hewitt, and I've been an educator for many years, since the 90s. I'm originally from Oakland, California. And the reason why I got into education was my desire to work with low-income, first-generation students, African-American students in particular. So those are the kinds of schools that I've worked at, basically on the high school level, but I've also worked in higher education. I worked for Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina, basically doing tutorial services, helping students there, doing advising. Still really close with some of the students there, even though currently I live in Las Vegas. And right now I'm actually teaching 9th and 10th grade English in Las Vegas.
Outstanding, outstanding. So thank you so much for coming on. I am pleased to have you here. So just to jump into the story, the clip, we couldn't get it up, so I'll just go ahead and paraphrase the clip that we have. So across the nation, teachers and students are in a crisis. When it comes to reading, writing, and math, there has been so many, as you know, year to year, different strategies that are implemented to try to increase student engagement. At the bottom tier of reading, writing, and math, the African American male ranks the lowest in these categories. My opinion is that I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of students are not able to connect the material that they're getting, the curriculum, and connect it with, how to make a living per se, or connect it with real life experience, Dr. Hewitt. So please, can you give us, your take? And if guys out there, ladies and gentlemen, want to comment, parents, teachers, please, tap in. Dr. Hewitt, please go ahead and.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. There are so many students who are not being served in public schools today. It's disturbing to me as an educator. Now, we've just gone through a really challenging year with COVID-19, with the pandemic. Most of the school year, 3/4 of the school year, a little more than that, where the students were at home. So it definitely was a challenge for teachers to really engage students. So there are a lot of challenges connected to that. But what you're saying, what you're saying about the curriculum is really important, because people need to see themselves in the center of the curriculum. Okay, African American, you should be represented in the literature. There should be teachers in the building that look like you, males and females, African American males and females, people to support you, people that understand your experience. So that's really important. but just, just kind of, so it's definitely a concern. And I enjoy my students. I mean, I have, I work at a school that's very diverse. So we have all kinds of students, and I just enjoy hearing what they have to say. I had a student who was, it's a young African-American male. He was hipping me to a song, by Lil Baby. I can't think of the name of it, but it was performed on the Grammys as well. But it was just talking about police brutality. And he said, "Oh, Dr. Hewitt, you have to watch this video and listen to it." And I didn't do it in time. And he said, "You got to watch it." So we sat there, we watched it together. And I was just so grateful because as an educator, I learned from all my students. But students need to see themselves at the center of the curriculum. They need to know that their voice is important, what their experiences. This same student, we did a song presentation, and he did a song from the young man that passed away. I'm blanking on his name.
Von, is it King Von, or is it Pop Smoke?
Nipsey Hussle.
Oh, Nipsey Hussle. Okay.
Nipsey Hussle.
Shout out
too.
to the West Coast, Nipsey Hussle.
Yes. But I'm sorry, I blanked for a second. But the same student, I mean, he was just so connected to what young men were saying about their experience, because he understood it because it's similar to his experience, even though he doesn't live in Southern California. So, I mean, that's the one thing. Students, they need to see themselves reflected in the curriculum.
Can I ask you a question, Dr. Hewitt? What are, for the parents out there, what are some common misconceptions about education? I hear a lot of parents, hey, they're not doing nothing down there at that school. Like, I feel that parents have the impression that they just send the kids to school and they come out as geniuses. Is that how education works?
It is not. For one, I mean, I just find it interesting that, we're going through, as your co-host was saying, a reckoning right now, because a lot of things have always happened, but since it's really been publicized, sometimes it's hard for me. Sometimes I'm with my students and, I'm about to cry because you have to teach them the truth. And sometimes you have to touch on current events, but sometimes I get really emotional. But overall, we're at a point where we are very distrustful of the criminal justice system. We have issues with some police officers, obviously, because we keep having these videos come out on a regular basis to traumatize all of us. And, God help all the families who have to deal with this personally. So, we're very distrustful of the courts, because we didn't really think, we never feel like these police officers are going to be convicted when they kill an unarmed Black person, an unarmed person of color. So, I feel like we're distrustful. There are certain places that we're hip to, and we know that bad things go on, and, we should be careful. But I feel like, there's a lot of violence that takes place in the schools as well. We were talking before about suspensions and discipline disproportionality, how African-American males, people fear them for the strangest reasons, because they get suspended more. Black girls get suspended more too.
Absolutely true. One fact that, is it true that K through 12, in the K through 12 system, African Americans are suspended 3 times the rate of their counterparts?
I don't have specific numbers. I mean, that is something I've studied because my doctorate is in urban education, but I can't give a specific number, but it's disproportionate for sure. And, African-American males, I mean, not only when it comes to the discipline, it's also when it comes to curriculum matters. I mean, you have African-American children more likely to be placed in special education. People are to make an assumption that you can't learn because of the color of your skin or because you're male. Sometimes people are just afraid or feel uncomfortable. So it's like, okay, so let me suspend you, or let me put you with another teacher and label you in a way that's incorrect, because we're oftentimes not identified for gifted and talented programs, for AP classes. So I mean, though, those are just some things that we see going on in the school. So it's like a lot of parents just really need to be informed. And because we're not really talking a whole lot about education right now because we have some other fires that we have to put out in our community.
Yes.
But it's really important because, just if I were to give some pointers for parents, well, the first thing Black people need to do in order to make some changes with the issues with discipline disproportionality, with misidentifying our children for special education and not identifying them as they should be for gifted programs, we have to start our own schools. Okay, so that's one. We have to start our own schools. There are a number of them that exist.
Yes.
Capital Prep in Connecticut is one. They have them all over the country, different places that have had success working with African American children. So we have to start our own schools because they can grow and people can support them and put their money behind them to help our children. And then we also have to recognize, and I'll just use this, because this program, we focus a lot on HBCUs, but if you look at how HBCUs started, around the time of slavery ending. So many of these institutions, because once you have the Emancipation Proclamation, you have all these people who are gaining their freedom, who it was illegal for them to read for many years. So you have all kinds of places. There's an author, his name's James Anderson, but his book is called The Education of Blacks in the South from 1860 to 1935. And he goes deep into this. Yeah, so he really goes deep into how we got us learning how to read. And then some of these and then you had institutions of higher education, institutions, you're training teachers, you're training people in agricultural fields. So, but then some of these same places like Hampton Institute, Tuskegee Institute, evolved and became universities based upon the needs of the people and just the needs of the community and just the desire for people to really pursue their academic passions.
I have a question for you, Dr. Hewitt. Do you think that in today's time, we look at education the same as the time that Emancipation Proclamation and colleges being started? Are we looking at education the same way?
That's a good question. I can't say in general. One of the things that I noticed, I noticed is, now that was a time where we wanted to know how to read because it was something that we kept from us for so long, where we were punished and brutalized for knowing how to read because people feared that with that knowledge, with the understanding, you could do more. So I feel nowadays what my concern is everything is so fast. We're so into instant gratification, and we look at outcomes of certain people, but we don't understand all the work that went into it. I'm happy that we have people like Beyonce, people like Jay-Z. We have a number of people coming from hip hop, and then Michael Jordan.
Yes.
You have a number of people who are approaching if they have not already reached billionaire status.
I'm glad you said that, Dr. Hewitt. I know that a lot of times the millennial generation is referred to as the popcorn generation, right? Everybody just wants it really fast. But my viewers out there, my young viewers, please recognize that there's a process to everything that must be developed, that must be honed, your skills and consistency. We don't want to overlook that. I'm sorry, Dr. Hewitt. I just had to point that out.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. Because, we see these success stories because you look at somebody like Beyonce and all the money she has now. But when she accepted her Grammy, she said, I've been working since I was 9 years old, Right. She may not have gone to college, but she has been working and on her craft to have the success that she has. So, I just hope that everybody understands that because I think people value education, but there's so many paths to becoming successful, but education is important, whether you're educating yourself, and then it's just going to take some hard work. You have to be mentored and, just to stay on Beyonce. She had parents who were behind her from the beginning, who gave her what she needed, from her clothes to everything.
We have a quick question for you, Dr. Hewitt, from a viewer. He says, and shout out to Kevin Jackson, actually my line brother, he says, how important is it for schools to include financial literacy into the curriculum?
It's crucial. It's crucial. I mean, especially coming out of a pandemic, I'm so grateful that the numbers are decreasing, but we're getting into a point now where every time I drive by something, it's like for lease. So there are all these opportunities for entrepreneurs because, a lot of businesses did not survive this pandemic just because of the nature of their business. So you have a lot of people that are going to be retooling to do something else. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. You're going to get back at it. But financial literacy is so important because, like I said, we're coming through something that was unexpected. So young people need to understand about savings. They need to understand about CDs. They need to understand about investments. They need to understand that the unexpected could happen and you really have to be prepared. So it's a discipline when it comes to financial literacy. Even home ownership, okay, versus renting. What you do with the vehicle, how much money do you spend on a vehicle? Do you get a used vehicle? So financial literacy is so important, but it has to start young because a lot of the habits that we have when it comes to our spending, we either learn from our parents or we're influenced by different things that we see on television. But a lot of these habits start early as far as when you get something, you spend it, as opposed to having a savings account. I shout out to Russell Williams and Sierra. I heard they were helping young people start savings accounts because you have to put something away. If there's anything we've learned from this past year, we need to understand that the unexpected can happen, and you have to. Because I can't begin to tell you because I've known Mr. Thompson for a few years. And I can remember some things I told him like a couple of years ago that I thankfully did. And I'm so glad I did because going through this, if I hadn't made those financial decisions, it would have been rough.
I have a quick question to you, Doc. What can you say? What can parents do in this climate to help, knowing the things that we're up against and knowing the challenges that we face in public school systems? What can parents do to help out their students and help out the teachers?
Okay, so the first thing is you have to evaluate the school before you even send your child there. If it's a public school, a private school, I have friends who, they spent a lot of money on a private school and it did not work for their child. So, no matter what kind of school it is, the child's still getting bullied, still having problems. So it's not always the money that you spend on a school, but parents have to evaluate the schools that they send their children to. I was just talking to a good friend. I was asking his advice on something and he was sharing the process he went through for his daughter. They live in New York and, his daughter loves New York. There's so much action. But I just feel like in general, the parents have to screen the school and you choose the school based upon the interests of the child. Is the child going to be able to develop? If the child is into the arts, is that something that's at the school? If your child wants to act, if they're creative, is that something that can be developed there? So the parent has to evaluate the school. Again, speaking, I think you mentioned before, talking about career. So it has to be based upon the child's interests and also whatever their career goals are. And is that something that's going to be available? Is that something that you think is going to be around in 10, 20 years? Because everything is changing so quickly. And that's just important to look at. But also parents have to work with teachers. As a teacher myself, I call parents and I know parents are really interested and I know parents work a lot. Sometimes it's a challenge for me to contact them or even communicate with them because, I have to talk to a lot of parents. Sometimes we have to work through translators just to explain what's going on with the child. But they have to definitely be involved in every aspect of their child's education because teachers, we're doing our best, which is not always perfect. I'll say that. But there has to be a relationship, and there has to be some communication as far as how we could get the best outcome for your child. So, I mean, we just have to work together, recognize that schools have problems, and, it's up to the parent to really search and make sure it's the right environment for their child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cam, you got anything for Dr. Hewitt? I know Cam serves as an educator as well. He's very adept as well. And, I know he was over there breaking his fast. I know he would have had a lot to say on the subject. Cam, you got anything?
Oh, I was thinking we're going to have to definitely have you back on, because education is so huge, and we can't do it justice. I have many things that I want to talk about, especially I would love to have you back to talk about the exploitation of the charter school systems of the Black community. Mm-hmm. But that'll have to be another topic for another day, because I would really love to get your opinions. But speaking about inequities in education, we have this thing to where people are not voting. And I don't think people understand down to your kid's school is affected by you voting. We're talking the way districts are drawn. We're talking how money gets divvied up. We're talking for school board positions, which these are huge, which the school boards played a big role in schools when the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. And we saw what happened when you don't pay attention to who's in charge or who is sitting on your board. You have a cluster situation of people who ultimately do not care about your children. And I think some people in my community were appalled to find out that people who sat on their school board didn't even have kids. But how would you say that voting really can affect the education that we're seeking for the prosperity of our community?
It's crucial. Just coming through an election, working with my students, we kind of went all the way back. We were reading a book called Harriet Tubman's Secret Spy. And during that time, 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected as president. So we talked about just the various issues that were important at that time. And the students also wrote about issues today, what's important. So they looked at the two candidates for the presidency, and I had them write. They had to write argumentative. I agree with you, Ms. Williams. They had to write argumentative essays kind of explaining why you support one candidate over the other. So many of them had different issues that they talked about. I mean, some of them talked about LGBT rights. Some people talked about education, COVID, the pandemic. So our students definitely care. I mean, so many students were concerned about the way immigrant children were treated as far as being separated from their parents. So there's so many issues that go on with politics when it comes to that directly affect children, students in schools. So they definitely have something to say. But my goal was to really encourage the students because I recognize that some of them, and I think this kind of starts early too, because I work with 9th and 10th graders, some of them is kind of over their head. They're not following it, but many of them really are. So I'm just trying to get them to be engaged, not just on the national level, but also on the local level, just to see what's going on. Because again, I live in Nevada and there's a lot going on here. I mean, I really like this place, but there are some challenges specifically when it comes to education, because obviously when you're not in a pandemic, there are so many jobs. There are so many people who they don't care if you have a college degree or anything like that. But the kids need to really understand that you may not be able to stay on your feet all day for some of these jobs that we have out here. And it's really up to them to prepare themselves for the future, for when you can't stand up all day, when you can't park cars, when you can't wait tables, serve drinks, or do different things. But overall, it's just something that I've really emphasized with the students, to just really be involved with what's going on, because it affects them directly.
Yeah, well, I think we are hitting time now. Thank you so much, Dr. Hewitt, for coming on and blessing us with your expertise. Thank you to everybody who got on and viewed and asked the questions. Let's keep it going. Cam, you got any remarks?
No, thank you again, Dr. Hewitt, so much for coming on. We're definitely going to have you back to further this conversation, especially when I'm not fasting. That way I can partake more in the interview. But thank you again.
You're welcome.
So with that, you guys, we are going to wrap it up with one last segment. It's one we just added, but it's something that I felt like I would like to do. And Omar gave me the green light, really. Omar be putting the battery on my back, y'all, if you really wanted to know. But it's called the Pick Up Your Feelings segment. And in this, I'm just going to talk about things that are just, it's ridiculous that we are even having to have this conversation to say this. And on the first edition of the Pick Up Your Feelings segments, I want to specifically address the hoteps of our community. Yes, you guys know them, the ones who wear gold, smell like oil, can quote everything about Kemet, and tell you you do not know your own history, or you don't even know your own experience. I'm talking to you guys. I am talking specifically to this brand within the African American community that is interested in practicing Black supremacy over promoting Black excellence and Black pride. I'm talking to you, you KKK in Black hoods. I'm talking to you, you QAnon of the African American community. Yes, you. And I'm probably going to hurt some feelings, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, here goes the issue with people who are hoteps. And again, you can have pride in being Black. You can have pride in Pan-Africanism. You can have pride in your soil roots. That doesn't make you a hotep. But when you start falsifying history and or equating history to fit a narrative that you need to believe so that you feel good about your Black skin, that makes you a hotep. When you come to me and tell me that I am a descendant of pharaohs, of the land of Kemet, you got me bugged out right now, because what I'm not is that. And it's okay that I'm not that. And I'm not saying that there's nobody who looks like me that is not a descendant of, ancient pharaohs. However, what I am saying is your need to push and validate Egyptian culture onto me as my true identity of Blackness is nothing more than a sign of a colonistic education. It's not a coincidence that the one country that gets so much clout amongst this groups of people is the country in which Europeans have had no problem teaching the people who look like us for years. For years. Now, they did teach us that they didn't look like us, but within time, we grew up and we learned that, no, in fact, they did. But to sit there and try to push that narrative on me, you take away from all of the greats from the continent of Africa, from which we all eclectically hail from, praise God. But what we will not do is, I'm sick of this shaming. I am sick of this denial. I'm sick of this not wanting to attach myself to the West African roots that I have. Make no mistake about it. West Africa bore some of the greatest civilizations that the world has ever known. Okay. West Africa helped to give birth to the richest man that the world has ever known. Shout out to Mansa Musa. We love to see it. And we will not forget the great civilizations of Senegal, of Benin, of the Ivory Coast, of Ghana, of Nigeria, of Niger. We're not going to forget about how great those countries were, because it makes feel good. Yes, you had Shaka Zulu of South Africa. You had the Queen Sheba of Ethiopia. You had Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. I mean, that was after ancient times, but still, these are great places that we all hail from. And to try to have to focus in on one and or to try to take my identity away from anything West African, being that I am an African American, is nothing but disrespectful to my ancestors that you claim to love and represent so much. To lie and to perpetuate a lie, to perpetuate conspiracy theories that make you feel better but are not advancing our people at all is detrimental to our community. And today I call out you, what I call Black QAnon. Now, if you're mad about it, don't DM me. I don't care. Omar?
Well, thank you so much, Cam, for
Dr.
eloquent
Hewitt, you
delivery.
okay?
She like, you going off over here, man.
Go ahead,
Cam is
Dr. Hewitt.
going
We can
off.
talk about it. I just get passionate, y'all. Every now and again, once a week, some topic just gives me heartburn. And this week it was some hoteps, and I there are a lot of things I can do. That is not one of them. We will not be lying to ourselves.
No, I totally hear you.
Challenging.
And just
Go ahead, Doc.
the wonderful group Sounds of Blackness. I mean, they really would get into it. You know, Ghana, Mali, you know, they would talk specifically about West Africa. I definitely hear what you're saying. And don't get me wrong, I want to go to Egypt. I can't wait to go to Egypt and study, because that's definitely a civilization that I'm interested in. But you're so right. We do not do West Africa justice when it comes to just the education and the knowledge that came forth from there. Because, you know, and because we can talk about it later, but just in my dissertation, because I talk about African-American veterans at historically Black colleges and universities, but I tried to go all the way back and really look at some of these institutions of higher learning in Africa, in Egypt, and in West Africa as well. So
I mean, you got Timbuktu, the oldest university.
Yes.
So it's like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about
shout
it.
out to Eartha Kitt.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. That's right. Yeah.
But we always seem to go over time, but I think that's okay. These are always very fun, riveting conversations. And
Cam is challenging any hotel to a debate. I want to see it. I would love to see it.
you know
Okay.
what? If a Hotepian needed to discuss some things with me in a proper debate format, because let's get it straight. I've elevated. I don't do street arguments anymore. So if you want to see me in a proper debate, by all means, I'll let one, but I'm not going to give y'all all my attention. It's not that deep, but you know, it is what it is. But you heard the challenge. Bop, bop, bop.
Peace and love, you know, to everybody out there. It's all love at the end of the day. That's our time for the day. And yeah, hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much, Dr. Hewitt. Peace. We out.
Assalamu alaikum. One more week, all my Muslim brothers and sisters. We got this.